It's the last day of early voting here in Georgia. You know, voter suppression, Georgia, where we've had 3 weeks of early voting, where in Delaware they have a day. Yes, sirree. Maybe we ought to look into those racist people up there. And our good buddy Gabriella Hoffman on the line here with us this morning, political columnist, award-winning writer, commentator, Young Voices. I am very impressed with this group, Young Voices, Gabriella. I'm glad to have you with us. How are you doing?
It's good to be with you this morning and talk about current events.
Yes, ma'am. We're talking about primaries, fueling questions about potency of the Trump endorsements, and he's got a pretty good track record so far.
He does, and you don't really see that so much from former presidents or high-level officials. So he so far does have a good record, even though people are questioning whether or not he still has staying power.
Well, you know, they questioned that the last time. He was every time we turned around, they were talking about how he was going to drop out of the race, or people, or just because he was drawing crowds of 25,000 or more, and another 10,000 people being turned away, and they were standing in line for hours. That didn't matter because Hillary Clinton couldn't draw flies unless she had some rock band playing for her, and as soon as they quit playing, people left.
He knew how to tap into something that was missing in politics, and that's certainly why he had a lot of crowds, and he still has a lot of support even today in the Republican Party, for sure. Absolutely.
Gabriella, one of the things he also has was business sense, which is something that politicians don't have. I remember our friend, the late, great Herman Cain, was asked one time, well, you don't have any political experience. What makes you think you can be a senator or a president? He said, well, you've been electing a lot of people with political experience over the last several decades. How's it working out for you? And when Trump came in, he started doing things on a business level. The economy skyrocketed. Inflation was down. We went after our own oil. We started making America first again. Now we want to make Venezuela great again.
Yeah, what a contrast the last almost 1.5 years has been. You talk to even people who aren't political, and I've talked to a lot of people, whether they're in Georgia or here in Virginia or states across the country, even non-political people say, I'm paying a lot more for gas. Maybe the policies of the past administration weren't as bad as advertised. So you may start to see some buyer's remorse, even from people who were not necessarily political. Maybe they had some reservations, but a lot of people thought they were getting normalcy and kindness under this new administration, and seeing a lot of things go up in cost is not really confirming that.
Well, that's true. And Gabriella, they don't seem to care. They keep voting for billions, if not trillions, of dollars for something, and another $40 billion going to Ukraine that we don't have. When we got inflation running rampant, baby formula not on the shelves unless, of course, you're at the southern border. Then you can get it for free if you're an illegal alien. And again, the gas shortage because we're not going after our own oil.
Certainly, this administration's policies have invited a lot of the problems we're seeing, whether it is inflation, energy dependence. And it's impacting everyone, including people in Georgia as well, all across the country. Doesn't matter what state you're in, red or blue, you're feeling the impact of inflation and other policies that have invited insurmountable problems that we have never seen in this country. I'm obviously in my early 30s. I haven't lived long enough. But talking to older folks, they say that even under Jimmy Carter, they didn't see these type of problems. So a lot of it can be traced back to this administration. It's pretty clear.
Yeah, Jimmy's got to be one of the happiest people on the planet now because he's off the hook, and even the Dalai Lama, as bad as he was, is off the hook with this cretin. We're talking about Gabriella Hoffman. She's a political columnist, award-winning writer from Young Voices, and we've got the Pennsylvania primaries, that one that we're looking at because Mehmet Oz in that deadlock with his opponent, and it's just amazing what's going on there, and because Oz just came practically out of nowhere, again another guy without any political experience, but a name recognition, of course, and being backed by President Trump.
Pennsylvania is an interesting case study. Certainly the president won there the first time, did not win the second time, but it's very close. His endorsement certainly has had an impact, but even if, let's say, Mehmet Oz does not win in the recount because a vote that is, or a difference that is under 0.5% automatically triggers a recount, but even if, let's say, the endorsement doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean that President Trump's staying power is diminishing. It just means that maybe Trump voters, and you see this in different opinions and different media pieces running, that even very avowed Trump supporters were kind of questioning Amendment odds as conservative credentials. So sometimes you see a little deviation with Trump supporters. They're not always in lockstep with the president. Doesn't mean they dislike the president.
Oh, sure.
You can even look objectively and say, well, maybe sometimes he's not endorsing necessarily the best conservative, but if they win the general or they win the primary, they'll go on to support them in the general. So endorsements can play a very, very big role, and sometimes, no one is always accurate. That's politics. Things happen.
Boy, that's the truth. And Gabriella, well, quickly, because I know you got to run, but here in Georgia, all eyes are going to be on us. It's the last day of early voting here, and the election is Tuesday, and Herschel Walker gets the Trump endorsement here for Senate.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation in Georgia. Obviously, a lot of people, all the different Republican factions have united behind Herschel Walker, which is very interesting to see, including the former president. And then you see your current governor actually running away with the primary vote. And Trump certainly has had a lot of disagreements with Brian Kemp, but it seems that he's going to be prevailing. I'm not sure if the president will perhaps bury the hatchet with disagreements with the governor, but he still, like I said, has a lot of staying power. Sometimes endorsements, like I said, they don't necessarily help because voters, again, could be slightly independent of the former president, but a lot of people still probably support him in Georgia, given just what you're seeing in terms of all the different levels of support for different candidates across the board.
Unlike the left, we don't march in lockstep. Gabriella, thank you so much. I want to stay in touch. You folks at Young Voices are amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Right, take care. Gabriella Hoffman, political columnist, award-winning writer, and commentator, with us here this morning about the primaries, fueling questions about the potency of Trump endorsements, and it's pretty darn potent.